Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Crypto Leviathan podcast. I'm your host, Dalibor. This is Andrew. Welcome to the show. So, Andrew, it's been a very interesting week today in the crypto space. What have you seen so far that has intrigued you?
So I saw the same article that you mentioned, the one featuring Axie Infinity and the security breach and the largest heist in I think crypto history, the largest heist to date. So I'll let you get more into detail about it, but essentially it's a breach of the Ronin blockchain, which is the underlying blockchain of the Axie Infinity game that we covered a few weeks back, and it resulted in I think $600+ million worth of, is it the native currency that went missing?
Yeah, it's a native currency that went missing. I think 600 to 650 millions. I think the estimate of what was stolen.
Yeah. Did they go into why or what mechanism that the thieves used?
I'm not sure what they used, but essentially they're able to drain their wallets. So I suspect the wallets weren't secured properly, or the wallet was sent too centralized, which is my suspicion. And that presented a weak point that allowed them to pull money from everyone's wallet. But I need to look into the technical details to confirm, but that's what I suspect happened.
So this wallet, it's the wallets of individual users on the blockchain in game, not just the wallet of the I guess the company.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh, okay. Here it is. The Ronin network said all evidence suggests that the attack was socially engineered, meaning individuals were targeted via emails or phishing and tricked into giving hacker access. So it wasn't any issues with the network. It was that they were tricked through phishing or scam. So I assume probably what happens. So this is like a common scenario. So they would maybe, hack these organizers or the dev team, this email, and then they sent out phishing emails. That's probably the most likely thing that happened here. And this happens in every industry. This is not strictly a crypto related problem, but I think this is a tech general problem where security is, it's not the security systems that are the issue. It's the end users where they're starting to breach, right? Because if you click a link and enter your password into a link you've clicked, that's how they steal your info. It's not necessarily like the old days where, they can hack data centers or steal your money from the server side. It's more targeting end users. So that's why it's important to protect yourself. Look out for phishing emails, always check the links, make sure they're coming from the right source, because hacking has changed. The group of people they're targeting has changed because of all the security that's been beefed up. And it's increasingly becoming more and more difficult to target these. So they're trying to, switch avenues to target.
Yeah, I agree. So try not to click links if you don't have to. I know a lot of reset type websites where if you're trying to reset your password, they tend to not send links anymore. They send you a code and then you just type the code in, which I think is more secure rather than having to click something because you never know. So if the less links they send you, the less likelihood that something similar would happen on their platform. So other things to avoid. I don't know if people still do this, but if you ever find say a USB stick in your parking lot, don't be curious and plug it into your work laptop. That was something that was used a lot in the past. So something to look out for. But I think that it's interesting that this is the second time we've talked about Axie Affinity in such a short period. So last time was about how the majority of the people playing the game Axie Infinity were not people who were actually enthusiastic about the game, but it was people in developing nations just trying to make a living playing the game, and that the only thing keeping it afloat was speculation. So and then now they're hit with a breach. So it's not the best year for I think it's called Sky Mavis, which is the developer of both the Ronin blockchain and the game Axie Infinity.
Honestly, I think they're screwed now because they've been hit twice pretty hard. And I think, the first time the game market crashing, it's fine. They can fix the market. That's always what I was saying at the time. But now they also had this huge security crash that people stole money. They have their reputations now in the has been destroyed. So them coming back from this is going to be increasingly difficult. So I suspect that this project is probably going to be abandoned in the next year or two. I don't see how they're going to dig themselves out of this hole at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, there is already inherent issues with NFT games because of the type of people who play. You know, you want to attract actual people who want to play, who are having fun, not people who are trying to mine the game. And so I think that's not just an Axie Infinity problem. It seems to be a problem with NFT gaming in general. But then, you know, it's just having this happen on top of that is just not the greatest.
Yeah. Yeah, they're finished. In other the news, I think that was the biggest thing that's been happening right now in today's market is Solana is going to be adopted on Opensea. So currently you can use like Matic network and Ethereum, but now Solana is going to be added as another token. I think this is huge. And immediately as they made that announcement, I actually bought Solana because I know that's going to skyrocket. They're planning to launch, I think, sometime in April. I forgot the exact date, but there's going to be so much more activity on this network now. It's going to explode because OpenSea is like the main NFT platform out there. So even though, you know, Solana is up in price, I suspect it's going to go even more because more and more people are going to adopt it and use it and transact in it. So this is not investment advice, but I would be seriously looking at Solana, even though it went up 50% in like basically the past 2 weeks. Still keep an eye on it. I think it still has room to grow. That it's huge. There is issues with the Solana network, but I think this is great that we're actually finally getting a serious competitor to Ethereum.
So Solana's at around $136 US right now. Is that right?
That is correct.
And is Solana proof of stake or is it mined?
It's proof of stake.
Okay.
But the transaction fees are so much lower. And apparently they're able to support 50,000 transactions per second. So go ahead.
Compared to Ethereum?
Ethereum, I think it's less. However, the problem with Ethereum is obviously gas fees. That's always been the problem. That's why Matic came out, which is a layer 2 solution on top. Now Solana is like its own separate cryptocurrency outside of the Ethereum blockchain. So we'll see where it goes. I'm very bullish on this because I think the way artists or anyone trading NFTs, they want to minimize these gas fees as much as possible. And Solana is going to be the next best alternative because they're integrated into OpenSea. So I'm excited. I would say stack Solana over the next few weeks, few months, because I suspect its adoption is going to explode.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll convert some Ethereum over to Solana on an exchange or something. But I think that just shows you that Bitcoin is still king, but whoever is second, it can be easily replaced by another blockchain or currency that is, I guess, has cheaper fees and that might have some other practical improvements upon whoever's leading right now.
Yeah, and just because Ethereum is popular now and there's a lot of dev support doesn't mean it'll stay always that way. Like you said, Bitcoin is king for very specific reasons because it's a long-term store of value. All these other coins have their value is based on their utility, and each project iterates and improves this over time. So Ethereum's clearly falling behind. I think everyone realizes that they can't sort out their own proof of work to proof of stake. It's been happening for years. So this is great news, I think, for me.
It's great news, but maybe not for our mining business because if Solana becomes, very popular and Ethereum isn't, then what will we mine?
Well, there's always other coins to mine, Andrew. Don't worry about that. I think there's actually a counter argument I would make to that point is because if more people start adopting Solana, the Ethereum network is going to get scared about dropping their miners now because of the adoption going here. So they may actually want to keep miners around longer because they're losing a core of their audience slowly over time. Because right now, the problem with Ethereum is it's basically like the network for everything. Mining, NFT, DeFi, everything, right? So they have a bunch of these interest groups that they're trying to please. However, if they lose the NFT crowd, that's good, in my opinion. That actually is good because now they can focus on mining and DeFi space instead, right? Because I think right now the problem with Ethereum is they're not specialized. They basically do a general use application for everything. And I don't see how that can work long term because of these competitors that are offering better stuff, right? The way I argue is, why would I buy a luxury house, which I can get with Solana, or I can get a general purpose building with Ethereum? Obviously, I'm going to go with a luxury house because it's a specialized product that I actually want, not a generalized, not just a standard, regular property that, I can do commercial, I can do industrial space, I can live in there. People want specialization. I think that's what Solana is going to offer. And Ethereum is going to have to pick what they want to focus on.
What are some of the key differences between Solana and Ethereum, aside from the inability to mine it? Can you build coins on top of Solana similar to ERC-20?
Yep. They have dApp support, so they can build decentralized applications. And essentially, the biggest selling point right now is because it's so much faster than Ethereum. It processes 50,000 transactions per second. And they argue that Ethereum, this is obviously from the Solana's page, it's 15 or less. I would have to confirm that because obviously they're the bias that they have. So they claim because Solana is super fast and that they have a lot lower fees, that they're able to scale and compete. And not with Ethereum because they think they've eclipsed them with Visa or MasterCard. So that's what their goal is. Basically, it's pretty similar to Ethereum, but they can process transactions a lot quicker.
Interesting.
It's the way I look at it, it's not a revolution, it's an evolution, right? Where they've slightly improved it for a specific use case. Because there still is issues with dApps with Solana, because I know I was talking to a few developers. They don't really have the support there yet. Also, like, it's a lot more difficult on Solana to develop dApps than it is on Ethereum currently. So their niche use case right now is NFTs. And I think they're focusing hard in this area, which is going to make it very appealing for that specific niche. So I think they're smart about doing that because they will steal shit. They will steal a lot of market share from Ethereum regarding NFTs.
And yeah, okay. I might put some money into Solana this week. We'll see.
It's been the top performing coin in the past, I think, say 16 months. Like, if you look at the charts of all time, it went from, about a year ago in 2021, January 1st, $2 to now around $170 Canadian. So it's one of the top performing coins in the market. I still don't think we've hit the ceiling because of this announcement. The last previous all-time high was around $323. Now it's around like 170 Canadian. So I could easily see it doing another 30% once usage in the network starts being adopted. Again, like I say, this isn't financial advice, but definitely consider this coin very strongly.
Well, I have a little bit of Bitcoin that I have just sitting there, so maybe I'll convert that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's well worth it. So, Andrew, anything else you've seen out there?
Let's see. I'm pretty sure there's always things that Peter Schiff announces he is Satoshi Nakamoto. So I don't know if this is an April Fool's article. It's because it seems very unlikely. So let me quickly see what he says here. Okay, so he says, I think he's just joking.
It has to be a joke. There's no way.
Yeah. So chairman of Schiff Gold and permanent Bitcoin hater Peter Schiff has taken to Twitter to congratulate the community with April Fool's Day. Okay. So of course he was joking. Peter, yeah. So Peter Schiff is he owns a investment firm.
Euro Pacific Capital, yeah. They invest in like gold. Yeah.
And he also has Schiff Gold. So they do, I think, a variety of investments, but part of what they preach is to invest in precious metals, especially because of inflation and things like this, which he's accurately been predicting for years now. And he's also a crypto hater, I guess. He's very against crypto, thinks it's, I guess, like a Ponzi scheme or a bubble. And then maybe in some cases he's correct, but I think for Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin's pretty safe.
Well,
But
what is it? A broken clock is right twice a day. So everyone keeps calling things bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. They'll eventually be right, but you could lose out
yeah,
on all the gains during that time.
right. And I think he admits himself that he regrets not getting in on the bubble early enough. And whether or not he invests in it now, hard to say. But I think part of his dislike of crypto is that he just didn't get in. So now I think he's kind of hoping it crashes. He's hoping it's a bubble. And don't you find that the same with a lot of people who didn't get into real estate?
Oh
That
my God.
yeah,
I remember last year when I bought my first house, people were like, it's crazy, prices have soared, blah, 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 blah. What has happened in that city? 50% up in 1 year. It's like, it's crazy.
mm-hmm.
And everyone's telling you like it's going to crash. It's 2008 is going to happen all over again. I'm just thinking in my head, there's no way. Like,
And I think you and I both independently came to the same conclusion to not read articles from betterdwelling.com
oh
anymore.
my,
So you had mentioned that recently. I
yeah,
had, so I use Android, right? And when you scroll over to the far left screen on your home menu, it shows you like a news articles from Google News. And I used to get these articles from Better Dwelling, and it was just bubble this, bubble this. And it was like for months. And eventually I was like, I don't know. I find like it's Better Dwelling. I like listening. I like reading a variety of real estate news, not just like fear-based news. So I clicked like unfollow them or don't suggest articles from them. And then you had brought them up recently.
yeah, like they keep panicking about it. And I was thinking in my head, like, listen, we bought in last year. If there's a 20% drop in the market, who cares? Like, honestly, it doesn't impact me or you that much, right? Realistically, it
No,
doesn't. We're up so much that if it drops 20% to whatever, then people don't realize that I'm not selling if it drops 20%.
no, and we have tenants in there, and I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to affect that too much. Not until maybe I don't know, unless the rental like the market rate drops substantially, and then when their term is done, maybe then.
But this is the problem as well, though. If real estate prices drop, these people will be scared to buy. So they're still going to be renting because they're going to be terrified. There's going to be more rental demand when housing drops because people are scared to buy. So, anyways, this is not a real
Yeah, it's off
estate
topic.
channel, but the same thing applies to like crypto last year when we started going hardcore into mining. People were telling us, "Oh, it's a bubble. The top is in Bitcoin. This, Bitcoin that." What happened, Andrew? We went from like what 8 GPUs to what like over 60 in like how much sort of span? Like 12 months. It's insane. And there's so much haters and like people telling us don't do it, like it's not worthless, blah 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 blah. I think the important thing is you need to invest into something regardless of what it is and hold it and do it for a long period of time, because value, like, you will make money trading, you will lose money trading as well, but long-term investments is how you make money and make great wealth. Because what is it, Andrew? Like 3% of money is printed every year or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
And whatever you invest in, as long as it's an asset like crypto, it has to go up 3%. Think about it this way: there's 21 million Bitcoin in the world and 3% inflation every year. So the dollar becomes worth less. Because there's only 21 million Bitcoin, what does that mean? That the Bitcoin value goes up because it's fixed amount, but there's more dollars. So as this currency is devalued, Bitcoin is increasing in nominal value.
Assuming people still want Bitcoin, that is.
Of course, but it's just common sense, right? More dollars chasing fewer assets.
So I think you and I missed the earliest boat on Solana where we could have gotten at a couple bucks, right? What was its ICO at $2?
It's ICO in like it was like a
Pennies.
dollar. Yeah, it was like 50 cents maybe.
Yeah, so we keep missing them. But that's because so many coins come out, right? It's hard to keep track. It's ideally if you're I'm sure there's releases on was it Bitcoin Talk. I'm sure these developers of these new coins are probably there talking about it, whatever they're making. But there's just so many, it's hard to keep track, and you don't know what's going to be successful and what's not.
And
So
honestly, Andrew, it looks to me like a Polygon. Look at what happened to Polygon. last time. I think it's going to follow the same pattern. As soon as this adoption happens, it's going to go crazy.
Yeah,
Polygon was penny. Now it's worth $2, and its market cap is around 16.2 billion. So I could easily see Solana, no, not doubling, but maybe like another 30%.
what's the market cap?
Market cap is 55.7 billion Canadian, US. Let's see what it is.
The market cap's already pretty high though, eh?
It is. It's 44.2 billion. It's a big coin. I think it's the the fifth largest coin right now.
Is there a cap on how many coins can exist?
No, it's a proof of stake network. So each block, I think more coins are generated and they're spread out rewards through staking. And
I was just looking. Go on.
yeah, so it's similar to Ethereum. You get a bit of the transaction fee from staking and you get a block reward.
Oh, what's the staking amount? How much do you have to stake?
I haven't done it yet because I don't think I own enough, but I have to take a look. We'll have to do a deep dive into Solana. I think for the next episode we should do that.
The only coins that we have got into like super early at the few or fraction of a penny mark or possibly less is what do we have? We have HVQ, which is called Hive Coin.
Yeah.
But there's also other coins called Hive Coin, so don't be confused. There's also HIVE, and there might be another one because one's called Hive Terminal Coin, and this one's just Hive Coin. We mined. I want to say we mined like a couple 100,000 coins between all of us. Our business partner, I think he mined like 1 million coins, but it's not worth anything at all currently. I don't think it's on any exchanges yet.
It's speculative, yeah.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of that. And then what else do we have? We have some TON.
Yeah, TON. We have the TON is an interesting coin because it will only be proof of work for so long before they switch to proof of stake. So I think it's great. It's going to be a coin that we're mining and staking at the same time. So that's a fantastic one to look into because there's only a period of time. And once you can no longer mine it, we're going to own a lot of it that we're going to be staking constantly.
What's the other one we have?
Raptorium.
I don't know where that's going to go.
We'll see. There's actively developing the project. So like I said, a lot of these things are speculative. So it could pay off huge. It could pay off not at all. So it doesn't affect us drastically because we're not our revenue is not primarily coming from these sources.
So what's interesting is coins like Polygon or Matic and Solana, they've started at pennies and now they're worth dollars or hundreds of dollars versus Chia that started at thousands of dollars and it's slowly working its way down to the penny mark. So we'll see where that goes.
We'll see.
What about Internet Computer? What's that worth?
ICP? Oh, let's take a look at that one.
It's worth $21. Didn't it start super high?
No, it started I think around like 150 or something. Then it soared up to something ridiculous, like almost 1,000, I think, at one point, and now it's down to what, like $15?
It's worth $27 Canadian. Its high is over 1,000 or about 1,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
So, what are they doing differently? Were they all pre-mining or like pre-mining a large bulk of their coins? Is that the issue here, or is it just it was just hype?
I think it's partially hype. From basically what they're trying to, Internet Computer has created like a protocol system that allows you to use they've tried to decentralize cloud computing and using data centers. However, I think there's so much hype around it because there was an MIT technology review done on it, and basically they said in the MIT technology review that they can run apps like TikTok, LinkedIn, and all the current applications on it, plus different types of apps that we can't even conceive yet. So there was a lot of hype around it. I think what happened was it died down because there's no one currently using that platform, right? So it's great they have this technology, but if no one's using it, there's no point.
Don't they suffer from some kind of centralization as well, where it's not anyone can participate in the network? You have to be pre-approved and already have like a sizable data center.
Yeah, that's another problem, right? It is centralized to a certain extent. So you have to have a data center to support this network. And I think that's another reason why it's limited its growth, because of that huge data center that they require. It's not like, with Ethereum or Filecoin. Filecoin's also expensive, but you need to spend at least 10 grand to build a rig. Here, you need like millions and millions of dollars, right? Just to set up a warehouse to do internet computer coin. And I don't think the returns are that great to justify those costs, right? Usually when you invest like multi-millions of dollars into a project, you expect pretty good cap rates. But here, I don't think they're that great.
I think with any coin or any project, I feel that it'll be more successful the easier it is for someone to participate. So whether it be staking or mining, if anyone can do it or can do it without a huge expense, then they're more likely to, boost it. They're going to talk to their friends about it. They're going to, if they have a podcast or blog or whatever, they're going to talk about it when crypto comes up because they have a stake in it versus something that you don't have any involvement in or very few people do.
Yeah, exactly. And the only way this type of project can succeed if it has backed by big players, right? Like big venture capitalists, hedge funds, or big companies like Google or Facebook, right? If they don't back this type of project, it's dead in the water because you need people who have a lot of firepower who can actually build, data centers or contribute their own data centers to this. So that's the important thing about crypto is unless you have those connections, this type of project is probably a no-no. Yeah, and something else I would love to touch upon, a little bit deviating from this, but we've been seeing a lot of volatility in the world, with the Ukraine crisis and gas prices going crazy. How is that translating now into the crypto space? Well, we're seeing Bitcoin, start going up again because of the heightened fear of inflation, rising interest rates. So a lot of people are moving into assets that are perceived as safe haven, Ethereum, crypto, gold, Bitcoin. So that's what's been driving, I think, the price lately right now. How long will it last? Who knows? Like I know, like for a long period of time, the Ethereum network, like the amount of people who were mining it wasn't growing. It was basically staying flat for the past, what is it now, like 4 to 5 months. But lately it's been growing again because the price has been going up. But I suspect that that's going to come back down again once prices start normalizing. Any thoughts,
Yeah.
Andrew?
Well, I've seen it definitely in various assets, but except for I think I was saying before I was looking at precious metals. I think silver hasn't skyrocketed. It's higher than what you and I were buying before, but gold and silver, I don't think they're at their all-time highs or anywhere close. I think gold is still relatively low.
Yeah,
Let me take a look right now.
yeah. It's I don't really understand that market, right? Why isn't going up as much in price? But maybe people are just choosing other assets to park their money in.
Well, there's theories that gold and silver are like heavily manipulated. Weren't you and I talking about that? How most of the gold that's traded is just on paper.
Yeah,
So
I think Peter Schiff was talking about that. How there's a lot of like short sellers and like silver. That's why it's keeping the price low. But I don't know. He's very biased when it comes to precious metals. So I don't know. You take things at face. You don't take things what he says with like 100% accuracy or truthfulness.
so for oil or gas, for I think most of Canada, you're looking around $2 per liter. I'm not really sure what that equates to for per gallon, and this is $2 Canadian. But I did notice with that we have an increased demand for electric cars. So I know that Australia in particular, people were selling their Teslas that were maybe a couple months old or maybe 6 months old that had say 10,000 kilometers on it for more than you could buy, more than the MSRP for a Tesla. So I don't know what they go for in Australia, but say for a Model 3 was like 60,000. They're selling a used. People are selling a used one on the used market for like 65,000 or 70,000.
Yeah, exactly. I know I was looking at a Tesla because I was like, okay, if gas is going up like crazy, I might need one. Man, the used market is absolutely crazy for right now, right? And I was in particular looking at models. I think it was before 2018 when you have free electricity charging on Teslas. Those are actually even more expensive than the recent stuff. So you know what I'm talking about, Andrew. You know those older ones that you get free charging?
Yeah. Is it free charging for life or just free charging for
For free charging for life.
well, it depends on where you are, where you live. You might be able to get some free charging somewhere else too. So I have a Prius Prime, so it's a plug-in compared to the regular Prius. So I can switch from full electric to full gas or some kind of in between. So I haven't gotten gas since like early February. And I just been charging it for free at the local university here because they have free charging. So I just go there on weekends when you don't have to pay for parking, and I'll just charge it like for 2 hours. Maybe I'll take a nap in the car or go take a walk or go to Starbucks and then just come back and get my car. So I haven't paid for gas in a while. But I was looking at Priuses on Auto Trader. And so I'm pretty sure my car was worth like, I don't know, like 37 or something like that, brand new. And people are selling the same model with like 10,000, same thing, like 10,000 kilometers for like $5,000 or $6,000 more than the MSRP brand new.
Andrew,
So I,
maybe you should sell
I
it.
thought about it. I want to get a Model 3. And it turns out the Model 3 is only a few $100s worth more, sorry, a few $100s more per month for a lease payment than, or even financing than what I'm paying now. So had I known that, maybe I would have gone with the Model 3. However, I like the fact that it's gas as well. So if I want to go on a longer trip, I can just switch over to gas because you may not always have a charging station.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
But all this just illustrates the price of everything going up.
You know what'd be even more fun, Andrew? Since you have a battery in your car, you can put a mining rig in there and run off the battery while you're charging.
Yeah, I have to look at how many amps it can support.
It probably can
Interesting.
quite a bit because of the battery. The power car is pretty big. I mean, maybe not your car, but for sure an electric car.
Yeah, I can just keep it at the free charger there and then just have it mining with
Siphon
the wind
power.
with the window cracked open.
Hey, why not?
Wonder what the risk of like explosion is. Because there were some electric cars that blew up. I think it was it the Leaf or there was oh, I think it was a Chevy Spark.
Well,
That sound right?
yeah, in its name, it sounds dangerous too.
It's either I don't know if the Spark is the electric one. It's either the Spark or the Bolt or the Volt. It's one of those that had a recall because some of them were like exploding.
Well, I think it was a Volt. I think you are right. I remember that.
Yeah, in the same article I was reading about in Australia, one guy he's looking to sell his Volt, and he's gonna sell it for like not, and it's like a few years old, and he's gonna sell it for not much less than he paid for at MSRP, even though he had tens of thousands of kilometers. Which is funny because you always hear that cars lose value when they leave the lot. And not right now. Right now, you might actually be able to make a profit if you somehow get your hand on an electric car because there's I think a 6 month wait list for Teslas.
Andrew, it's not that your used cars increasing in value. It's that the dollar is decreasing in value.
That plus scarcity.
Yes, but that's what's happening, right?
Yeah. So when I got my insurance, I made sure to pay a little extra to get a depreciation waiver, which I highly recommend, meaning that if you destroy your car or your car gets destroyed from an accident or whatever, that they're not paying you for the amount that the car costs brand new when you got it. They're going to pay you the amount required to buy the same car today.
Oh,
So keep
that's
that in
actually
mind.
smart.
Yeah, it's an extra like $25 a month or whatever. And I think it's worth it because you don't know what it'll cost to buy the same car like 2 3 years from now. If worst case scenario something happens to your car. I've written off a car before, so it could happen.
Yeah. Andrew, I think you'll love this. Shiba Inu has created a metaverse. They'll feature more than 100,000 land plots.
Starting
And
when?
um, I'm not sure if it already
Because
started.
we need to get in on this. So if there's something, we'll buy it today. We'll right after this, we'll go get some land.
But this is the problem with Shiba Inu, right? I mean, they create so much new Shiba Inu that it's not necessarily worth anything because the inflation is so high in this coin. So,
That's not relevant though. If as long as the land doesn't infinitely expand,
yeah, I
then
guess.
it still has value.
I guess there's apparently there's maybe it hasn't been released yet. So here it says land plots will be released in phases. The introductory phase will have 36,431 plots divided into four categories: silver, fur, gold tail, platinum paw, and diamond teeth, and are priced between zero point 0.2 ether to 1 ETH.
Oh, that's expensive, eh?
Yeah. Eh.
What's 0.2 ETH? That's Um,
$1,000, something around that range.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll throw in $1,000, see what happens. Um, yeah, so land buyers will be able to generate passive income, gather in-game resources to generate rewards. So I wonder how that's going to work. And landowners can rename their plot using and burning the dog-themed SHIB coin.
Are there are there any screenshots of what the world looks like? Is it like the central land?
No, nothing yet.
Okay. But that just tells you though that any developer can build a metaverse, a virtual world, whether VR or just regular desktop. And so you might have spent millions of dollars on a plot of land in the central land when the central land was one of only two metaverses. Say there's the central land and crypto voxels and whatever, those are the two big ones, and now there's sandbox, etc. But say you bought something then, well, what happens when there's like crypto 100,000 different metaverses? Will your land still be worth the same thing when people are kind of exploring between all these different metaverses and not spending that much time in Decentraland anymore?
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter, I think.
Well, I mean, at that point, then the value of what you bought should go down because it's just like regular real estate. If they flood the market with more houses, the house that you have is going to go down value.
Yeah, but there's many more factors to it, right? Location, like what are the other building types? Is a busy street? I don't think you can use a direct comparison to like real life
I
real
No, you
estate.
can't because the physics of the metaverse are different than the physics of the real world. So in the real world, land near the ocean or near the water or downtown is gonna be worth more, but that's also limited by physical geography and having to travel, right? If your house is 2 hours out of town, it's going to be worth less than downtown. However, because you have to physically travel there. But imagine if you could travel there instantaneously by teleporting, then these geographic limitations no longer matter. So the metaverse, I mean, it depends on how the game is developed, but there really doesn't need there shouldn't be a reason why you have to physically walk to another location in the metaverse. You should be able to just plug in the coordinates, right? Which eliminates the some of the geographic issues. Sure, they can make an artificial lake, and being close to the lake, I'm sure is a nice view. But if it's just a matter of where everything is centralized, well, I mean, if someone else can generate hype in another area, like say you're a celebrity and you want to start your own hype area, you just buy land there, you build something, and you can make that the new hotspot, and the old downtown would die off.
I disagree with you completely. I don't think it works that way, right? I don't think the downtown would just die off because I think the way that these worlds are constructed is you have to actually build these structures and buildings there. So if you have like these fancy buildings and everything in one location, let's use Decentraland as an example. Let's say you have a museum, you have the fashion show, everything in this one downtown core. Housing will always be more valuable there. It should be. I think the argument we're arguing is what percentage premium would people be willing to pay for that, being close to those type of amenities? It probably is less than in the real world. That I do agree with, but what is the percentage? I don't know.
I think each metaverse you can kind of treat it as like a new city being built, each one with its own version of downtown, its own fashion district, its own entertainment venues or whatever. But I'm just saying, depending on the size of that city or metaverse, there's I think less attracting people to one area than in the real world because you can easily start you can buy land elsewhere, and as long as you can generate enough hype around it, I think you can still draw people into this new area because there isn't that issue of having to drive 2 hours to this place because you just travel instantaneously. Like it, do you know what I mean? Like it's not the same thing.
I think you're looking at it very narrowly. I think there's much more factors than that. That's what my opinion is. I think, like I said, there's amenities. There's, uh, like I said, having the fashion show, having like a sports arena, bunch of other things in your area. I think they'll boost its value. I think you're just looking at it strictly from location based, like strictly the time travel component, which I think is only one factor. You have to look at many other things.
I'm just saying it's all that stuff is portable because you can just easily rebuild it, or someone else can build the exact same thing in another metaverse. And you just can't do that in the real world. For
Yeah,
example,
but listen, like I can build a whole new city and car in the real world and let's say a carbon copy New York. It's people aren't going to live in the duplicate New York. They want to live in the New York. They're not going to live in the copy. I think it's the same thing in the central land. If you just copy like entire city over and plop it somewhere else, it's like I don't want to live there. That's a copy of this one.
Do you know that to be true though? Because how hard, people don't do that. It's very difficult to do. The only place in the world I can think of where there's something similar is in China, where they've built brand new cities from scratch in a fraction of the time.
Yeah, and look at what's going on there. They're empty, right?
Well,
They are like vast majority of these are vacant. So I think it takes time to actually you have to build slowly, right? Like these decentraland buildings, they're going to congregate in one area. That area is going to be expensive, but yes, they're slowly going to expand into other areas. That core area is always going to hold value. That's the point. It won't drop in value just because you can travel instantly across somewhere else.
well, we'll see. But okay, so using that China example, so yeah, they're called Chinese ghost cities. Go on YouTube, you'll find a few documentaries about it. There's practical reasons why people wouldn't want to move to one of these cities. So, for example, I've met people in Toronto and British Columbia where housing is super expensive, it's unaffordable. I ask people, why do you stay here? Why not go to Alberta, somewhere cheaper, or go to the United States? They say, well, my family's here, my in-laws are here, my job's here. These things do not exist in the metaverse. You're not going to stay in Decentraland because your family's in Decentraland. You can just easily go to Shiba Inu verse and start fresh there. So the podcaster Tim Dillon, he was on Joe Rogan and they're talking about the metaverse, and then Joe Rogan asked Tim Dillon, are you going to buy some land in the metaverse? And Tim Dillon said, no, I'm going to start off in a cheaper metaverse and work hard. So I just thought that was funny. But yeah, these things that keep people stuck in one city do not apply in the metaverse. So I just think it's a lot more.
I think even through this pandemic, Andrew, we've seen that people stubbornly want to stick to big cities, right? Some certain, not everyone, but there's a certain percentage of the population will never leave. And some people, it's because they have family ties. Some people just love that city. And I think this will be the same thing in Decentraland.
But in real world, you have to move. You have to get a rental truck. Just like trying to get out of California, you have to get a U-Haul.
Yeah,
You don't need to do.
but
you don't need to do these things.
But this is the example. It's like, hey, I own a property in Decentraland. That is the New York, or I live in Baltimore. I would. Everyone's gonna say, I'd rather live in the New York. Technically,
say I buy. Say you're in Toronto, okay, and your housing's expensive, and I move somewhere like Texas where it's really cheap, and I try to convince you to move. It's not the same in terms of like the considerations that you'll have to actually make to physically move all your stuff to buy a new property or whatever. It's not the same as me saying, hey, oh, I see you're in Decentraland, or whatever, right? Or you're exploring Decentraland, you like to hang out in Decentraland, but you can't afford property. I'll like just say, why don't you come over to Shiba Inu universe where you can buy land for $1,000 still, not $20,000. All it takes for you is open a new tab in your browser to come over.
But
it's very
but
quick.
if you use my same point, it's like a B or C tier, right? Universe. You're not at the A premium tier, which people want to be in, right? It's the same argument. It's like it's basically like arguing why would I would live in the like a crappy area of the city or a shittier area versus living in the top premium areas of the metaverse. So I think it's the same argument
again,
we're arguing
a lot
here.
of these things don't apply in the metaverse. There's no crime in the
Well,
metaverse as far as I know.
I think you're misunderstanding the value of it here is what people perceive to be the most valuable. It's not that from a physical standpoint where you're using real life comparisons to metaverse comparisons. I think those are inaccurate because same thing with Bitcoin. Its value is inherently dependent on people thinking it has value. Same thing with Decentraland. People will always say that's the most valuable one because that's where everyone went originally first. So
Right,
all
I get
these
that.
other metaverses are going to be B or C or D tiers, right? Where people aren't going to treat them as the Decentraland.
I think there's other variables. For example, it's very easy to say I don't know, I'm really into Shiba Inuverse because I own a lot of land there. It's easier for me, especially if I'm an influencer, to draw people over. And the cost to move is very low because there's no cost to move. You just have to buy a new property, or especially if Shiba Inu is super cheap, then kind of like moving from Toronto to Windsor, you just sell your Decentraland property and move to Shiba Inuverse, which well, let's compare Shiba Inuverse to Windsor from now on, and Decentraland is Toronto. So, you're actually better off in that you can buy more land in Shiba Inuverse, but it's all about the hype. And I just think that the cost to move is a lot lower and easier done in the metaverse than in real life, because as long as you have influencers who can drum up the hype, people will move very easily. It's a matter of a few clicks. It'll take like maybe 10 minutes to set up an account over there, and whatever time if you are going to sell your land in Decentraland versus in real life where you have to go through lawyers, realtors, physically get a rental truck. It's not the same thing. I just think that if someone like Snoop Dogg goes to Shiba Inuverse, that will become the new hotspot. So I just think that in that, but whereas in real life, if just because Snoop Dogg lives in, say Snoop Dogg moves to Dubai and says, hey, everyone should move to Dubai, it's people aren't going to do it. Whereas in the metaverse, it's very realistic to have everyone follow these influencers compared to real life.
I do agree with you there. That's why I said I think there's different factors at play here, right? There, like you said, there's certain factors that don't apply here, but there's still certain factors that do apply from the real world, I think, as well. So it's just going to be, I think time will tell which factors, do still apply.
Right. And then the other thing too is also the quality of the world. So if you look at Decentraland, it's very reminds me of like Nintendo 64.
It's
We'll
like
see
a
what,
it's like a Minecraft-ish look.
right, yeah. So, you're gonna have more and more realistic worlds. I think we talked about what if Grand Theft Auto Online had NFTs, right? That could easily be a metaverse, but they got to change their platform a little bit because it's limited how many people can be in the world at once. But a very ultra realistic world like that might draw more attention than the Nintendo 64 Minecraft version. So we'll see. We'll see what Shibu Inuverse has to offer. But I think in the near future we're gonna have Grand Theft Auto quality worlds.
I think it's inevitable. We could easily see Decentraland do it, right? Because they could slowly start improving the graphics.
Right. Wait, we could be living in the metaverse right now.
I know we could be.
Yeah.
If you've seen The Matrix, I think it's a very good movie where you're just living in an alternate reality. You don't even realize it. It could be a simulation.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, if you want to, if anyone who's listening, if you want to watch a couple movies in that area, The Matrix obviously is the big one. There's another good one. It's called The 13th Floor. I highly recommend it. Not to give you too much of the plot away, but it's in our day, like it's supposed to take place in modern times. A software company builds a metaverse type world where it's not populated by real human avatars. It's populated by NCPs. No, sorry, NPCs, but they're not really NPCs because each one, I guess they are NPCs, but each one is sentient. They have a consciousness. And the reason why is they wanted to make it as realistic as possible for marketing purposes. They wanted to test real life products like say Nike shoes or MacBooks or whatever on this population because if they're modeled after us and they're truly sentient, whatever they'll buy is likely to succeed in the real world. So that's the initial plot, but it gets deeper and darker. So really good watch.
All right, perfect. And on that note, I think we can end the podcast. Thank you everyone for listening. Next week, I think we should do a deep dive into Solana, and we'll see if there's a special guest on the show.
Oh, one last thing. So we weren't able to cover the Decentraland fashion show. We tried to attend this past Saturday. Not yesterday, but last week Saturday. I think that was the only time that Dalibor and I had free, but I think you had the same issue when I tried to log onto the Decentraland, nothing would load.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had that issue. So we're gonna I think we could do a recap and just cover a bit of it.
Yeah, we can talk about what we can find out about it, but we weren't able to actually attend.
Nope.